Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Army Navy game. If you don't know the history between these two teams, well, let's just say it goes deep. Hatred runs roughshod in this rivalry. 62 to 54 with 7 ties. Navy leads this series. And it is one of the most hard hitting events that you will ever witness. These two teams, it doesn't matter the record, it doesn't matter the bowl status, it doesn't matter if one team's undefeated and the other team doesn't have a win. This game is always circled with deep, deep pride. These two teams have one focus throughout their whole year, and this is that week. And this is going to be the JCP presentation. Of course, I'm your host, Cole from JCP, and I'm joined with.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite sailor. We got to get into this. Favorite
That's right.
sailor. Also, ladies and gentlemen, it's Chooch. Thank you all for coming in on a special weekend in the sports world.
Oh, it is truly the best time just to see a rivalry like this because Chooch, we might be talking about Michigan, Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Clemson, Florida State, but none of them compare to this week.
Yeah, no, not a single game has the pride on the line that this game has. These guys are fighting for more than just bragging rights of, oh, my school's better. It's my branch is better. My people are better. My supporting cast is better. This is the Commander-in-Chief trophy is on the line in this game. Army loses this, it's going back to Navy. Actually, I think it's going to Air Force because pretty sure Navy beat Air Force this year, didn't they?
Yeah, Navy clocked
So
Air
if
Force.
Navy wins this game, they get the Commander-in-Chief trophy. Yes, everyone's confused. How does that work? Well, I'm going to explain it to you. So before we get into this, I'm going to explain the Commander-in-Chief trophy to everyone. The Commander-in-Chief trophy is a trophy awarded to Air Force, Navy, and Army at the end of the season after all three schools play each other. So, Air Force beat Army earlier in the year. Army can no longer get the Commander-in-Chief trophy. Navy beat Air Force. Navy can still get the Commander-in-Chief trophy. Now
No, we vice versa that, by the way. Army beat Air Force, not Navy.
Oh, yeah, Army beat Air Force. So Army can still get it, but Navy can beat Army for the trophy. It's really weird. It's stipulations, but the three schools fight for it. But remember, folks, these are the two. I'm going to give you all some history here. These are the two oldest branches. That's not the Marine Corps in the country. The Navy was founded back in the 1771, 72. The Army was at the same time. So, and the Marine Corps was founded like a year later in a bar somewhere. So, but they're Navy, so they go into the Navy thing. That's why this is important. The two oldest defenders of this country going toe to toe on the gridiron.
And you know what's amazing about this rivalry too? It is the most unique rivalry, like I said earlier, in all sports because, usually it's, hey, we hate you, look at the great ones, Boston, New York Yankees, or look at Boston, Montreal Canadiens, in hockey, or Chicago, Detroit. It's like, I hate you because, you're close and we're rivals. This is brotherly close.
Yeah.
It's a love-hate thing.
This is legitimately a civil war. Legitimately a civil war. There are guys that grew up together that are playing on opposite sidelines in this game. There are guys, the prisoner exchange. This is probably one of the coolest things in sports. Actually, and Navy ran the game ball, I believe, up to Foxborough this year from Annapolis.
Yes, and like Chooch had on the screen there, flash that ticker again. This is the first time in their 124 years in Foxborough. So that just speaks volumes about, again, how crazy this rivalry is. Foxborough, that's, the place where just so much has happened in that stadium, and now you get a first and you host this type of a game. I
Yeah,
mean,
and people also, I mean, there's a lot of okay, so there's a lot of naval history, and obviously if you went to school and you learned something and paid attention to history for even like 3 years of your life, you know that a lot of America's history is in New England, and the fact that there's never been a game in New England is kind of surprising. Also, another fact, this is the third time this game's been outside the Mid-Atlantic
wow.
region. Yeah. So, because it's usually Baltimore, Philly, and New York. Baltimore, Philly, New York. Baltimore, Philly, New York. That's how it goes. So, for this to be in Foxborough is fitting because the USS Constitution is in Boston. Um, there's there's a lot of military presence in the state of Massachusetts, and like I said earlier, literally a couple minutes ago, the history of America in Massachusetts is astonishing. You can go almost anywhere in
Absolutely.
Massachusetts and find something relating to the Revolutionary War or to how America started its military power, projection of military power into the world in Boston. So for this game to be in Foxborough with what these two teams are representing on their jerseys, we'll get there. We'll get there with that. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And the thing too, again, everybody watching this outside has an opinion. I very rarely do you come across a fan who is pretty neutral in this game. But also, think about this. What about the people who are in these branches right now? I mean, this is everything. I mean, shoot, you could, atone to that more than I could, but
Yeah.
uh like, walk me through that. What is
So
the idea?
So I've been deployed for one of these games. That was my first year in the Navy, 2016. I was deployed for that game where Navy lost to Army. But the whole week is go Navy beat Army. Go Navy beat Army. The whole week is that. Hell, you're getting updates on the flight deck from Air Boss telling you what the score is. All right,
Oh,
everyone on the flight deck, Navy is now winning. Like that's how it is. This game is so important because you got all the officers that have some sort of Navy brass in them now. You got all the enlisted that's like, hey, we're better than the Army. We know we are. We're not just some guys in white dress uniforms dancing everywhere. But like, yeah, they keep you informed, and it's pride, because when you live down here in Norfolk, on the other side of the HRBT, the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, is Fort Eustis, which is a giant Army base. And then there's Langley. And if anyone doesn't know, that Langley is the home of the Air Force here in the state of Virginia. And the Air Force used to be the Army Air Force
oh,
back
that's right.
until the end of World War II. When Korea happened, they became their own separate entity. And then obviously Norfolk is the biggest naval base in the world, which is also in the biggest port in the country. So the pride here is insane. I've seen Go Army beat Navy, Go Navy beat Army all week outside people's houses, talking to people because I do residential stuff, so I talk to a lot of different contractors, ex Navy, ex Army, ex anything, and they'll tell you there's pride in this game. No one can watch these teams all year. This is the only game they tune into, and it's only because of how good this game can be. It actually is. There hasn't been a blowout since 2019, 2020, when Army
Yeah,
shut out Navy 15-0.
yeah. I harken back to that game. I mean, that was, one of the ones, and it's so weird that, you even have a shutout between these two teams
Yeah,
because, like you were saying, or a blowout for that matter, because it seems like every year it's the same thing, usually in the snow, the running that triple option, person, tries for a game-winning field goal late. Last year, of course, Army was the one to take that home. Um, so Navy has revenge on the mind. But let's talk about the Navy headman in charge, first year on the job. And for some Navy fans, you're going, we kind of took a step back. Others going, hey, we kind of went forward. Um, Me personally, I think it's a good step for Navy. I think they're evolving and playing better, playing quicker, and even working a little bit on the pass game. But Chooch, what do you think about the new man in charge there, Brian Newberry?
So if anyone has paid attention, it paid attention last year after this game. When Navy lost, what was it? 3 days later, a week later,
I believe it was.
they fired their head coach and hired Brian Newberry. This is his first time as the head coach in this rivalry. By the way, he's been the DC at Navy for the last 4 years. So the 4 years before this year. So he's been with the program. He knows what to expect, and he might. I think he brings a better Navy team into this than we've seen the last 6 years. I think this is a more complete Navy team. The defense has been outstanding. We talked about that, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
how good this Navy defense has been. They play fantastic football. They're not, obviously the offense struggles, but they're slowly starting to air it out a little bit. I say that with true words, true meaning to the word little bit.
Yeah, not very much.
But no, Brian Newberry, like I said, first time head coach in this rivalry. He's been a DC 4 years before this. There's a lot. This is a lot to take in your first game.
My big question with this to you is, how huge is it to already have somebody who's been in this moment before step up to the plate and be a head coach?
Very, because
somebody new.
Very, because these academies hire coaches differently than most other people, right? Like these guys have to come in and they have these kids' first priority is the Navy or the Army or the Marine Corps, whatever. That's their first priority. Football is secondary to that. So when these kids are doing their stuff, they're still doing dress uniform inspections. They're still doing drill. They're still doing all the other stuff for their whatever rate they're going to be, whatever field they're going to be in, whether it's avionics, engineering, nuclear reactors, air, being a pilot, supply, medical. Like, they still have to do that and go to school. Also, they have to maintain military standards in their uniforms and how they dress and stuff. So, like, these are the finest of the fine. This is your 20-year port wines on the field.
Wow. I mean, just going through the list of stuff there, I mean, man,
these are probably the smartest students outside the Ivy. Actually, they're probably smarter than most Ivy League kids.
I'd have to agree.
Also, did you know when I was coming up through high school, in order to go to Navy and play sports at the Naval Academy, you had to play all 4 seasons. You had to play a sport in all 4 seasons.
I like that.
That's how athletic these kids are.
And what were all the options with that? Just football, basketball,
any sport in the 4 seasons. So
okay.
Your fall, your spring, your summer, your winter, or the 3 seasons of school. But you know what I'm saying. Right. Your baseball season, your football season, and your basketball season, basically. So your indoor track, lacrosse, hockey, basketball, football, baseball, cross country, field hockey. You name it. Yeah.
I mean, salute to these kids even more. Like, not only to the fact that, these are the guys, again, who are, sure, they're on the field, they're playing this game. But once, their time's over, once they graduate, it's right off to, if you're in the Navy, of course, you get put on a ship and there you go, to serve. And if you're in the Army, you get sent away to, do
wherever,
and serve, serve for the Army. So, the dedication that these kids have and the selflessness is truly incredible. And again, something that we'll never see. We could sit here and talk again about, the Heisman Trophy or the Bolitnikoff or, XYZ insert trophy name here. But, to these kids, I mean, that's the biggest trophy, I think, to be willing to surrender yourself, for others. The Bible says, there is no greater love than to put your life.
oneself.
What's right? I butchered that, but to put your life for your friend, in other words, and that's what these brave kids are doing. So it just truly salute to all them. I mean, that's insane.
Also, I did forget that also during their summers or whatever time they're not at school doing their sports stuff, they have to go out to one of the bases and into the fleet and go underway on ships or understand what they're doing with their jobs. There's also that too.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
So like they're the busiest of busy.
dude, how do they have time to sleep? Like,
That's when you're in the military, you get used to running on minimal sleep.
oh my goodness.
5 hours, 6 hours, that's about it.
Wow.
Yeah. These are like when I say these are the smartest of the smart, the hardest working of the hardest working, these are that.
So let's get in a little bit. Obviously, we're not going to get into any picks yet, but let's just kind of break down this game and what to expect. Obviously, I've hinted a little bit at the running game, the triple option, things like that, which that's a foreign concept anymore in college. These are the last real two that run that, get under wishbone, run that triple option. Chooch, what is the most important thing to counteract that triple option?
A good front seven and a really good and I mean not even a really good, a decent linebacking core. Like just a linebacking core that can come out and they can be anywhere where the quarterback or the running back is going to be in a blink of an eye. I think we covered this last year. I think I said the same thing. Good linebackers and a strong front core of men. I mean, your secondary is going to help, but they're not going to get thrown over all the time.
Very rarely.
Very rarely. But it's the typical triple option stuff. You gotta send it. You gotta watch the handoff. You gotta watch that RPO type play. That RPO, like, here you go. That the option handoff. Oh, I'm gonna go. I don't know how else to explain it except that.
No, I mean you nailed it. So the reason I love that question is because there is a group of kids out there that might be watching this game, and all they see in the modern football, you watch the NFL, you watch, the top tier college programs, and you're telling me there's a team out there that doesn't throw the ball like 20 yards every play? You're telling me it's like this run up the gut sometimes, pull it, pitch it to the outside team, because we're on the dying breed. Like I said, there's like only two anymore. It used to be four, but Air Force and Georgia Tech stopped doing that. So now it's really Army and Navy, and Navy's slowly but surely pulling out of that. And as you can see, on the bottom there, Army averaging 209 yards a game on the ground. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and hold on, it's coming up right now. And the Navy has 200.5 yards per game. Both teams are close in that department. But these team and also Navy's done that with 11 games, obviously. So as Army, so that can only go up from here. Passing wise, Army's got 107 yards per game, and Navy's got 99. So as every year, you guys are going to notice this. When we talk about this game, we're going to say the offenses are extremely balanced, but those 9 yards in a yard, 8.5 to a yard, that could be the difference in this game.
Absolutely. We've seen everything be the end of this game, whether it was just stout defense, whether it was, somebody fumbled at the 1 yard line, somebody missed a kick. I mean, there's just so many points in these games. They always say the little things are the most important in these big games, and no other game exemplifies that than this game, because we've seen it. We've seen, every sort of loss, every sort of heartbreaking way, every sort of just little extra effort take home a game like this. So, and of course, after this game, you just feel bad for whoever loses because it's like, man, this is everything.
Yeah, because this is usually a thriller of a game. It's usually not decided to the last. It's either decided in the third quarter and no one can mount a drive until late in the fourth, or it's won late in the fourth. It's never won at that in the first half like most games are.
Right.
And I was talking about. We were just talking about how balanced the offenses are. Let's talk about the defenses here. Navy's allowed 362.3 yards a game. That's right behind Pittsburgh, above Army, above Buffalo, because Army's right below them at 369.2. Navy's at 362.3. Sorry, I read the teams wrong. So like, how much more balance can these teams get?
I was gonna say, can we get more even, please?
If you want.
Well, also to ask this question, because I feel like this doesn't get talked about enough. And this answer, I mean, I already know what I'm going to say for this, but I want to hear what you got to say. Army's on a 3-game win streak coming into this game, and Navy's on a 1-game losing streak after getting pummeled by SMU. And how much of a factor in this game does that play? Just the momentum, the hot streak?
Not a single bit. We saw Navy 2 years ago be a 2-win team and beat a 10-win Army team. Like we've seen both these teams be in the exact opposite spots of each other, and the team that's the lower team usually comes out and wins that game. Now, obviously, Navy's got a bit of an edge because we're better than the Army. Wink, wink, dot, dot. Poke, poke. But record doesn't mean much. At the end of the day, these guys are going to come out and they're going to give it their all for this game because this is more like I said earlier. This is more than just school. This is branch pride. This is you have to go the rest of your time in service going, yeah, I lost that game to Army.
Oh, and that's got to be like 20 or so times worse when you're like the actual player who ended up having, as I mentioned, the fumble at the 1, the missed kick for Navy last year or 2 years ago. And it's like, man, like it sucks, on a normal college football level. But then you get to this game and you have that, and it's like, oh man, if only I could have hooked it a little bit more right. If only I would have hung on to the ball and scored on the next play. Like, that's got to be one of the worst feelings ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine going out there giving it your all just to run into one. Say you run into one of those guys down the line in the city you live in because you happen to be based near each other, and it's just like, hey, I played you. Remember when we beat you that year? Yes, I remember. Yeah, go Army. That's how it goes. And no one wants to lose to the Sandcastle builders at all. No one wants to lose to the Sandcastle guys. It's not fun.
The Sandcastle guys. I've never heard
Marines
that.
eat crayons. We do other stuff that I can't say out loud. The Air Force is the chair force, and I call the Army the Sandcastle builders.
Do we count the Coastal Guard in that?
No, they're DOJ.
Okay.
DOD? Yeah, they're not directly related to the military. They're only a branch in time of war.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about next we'll start with the quarterback battle. And we got 2 interesting names here. We got Bryson Daly starting it off with Army. He's had 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 859 yards. And that's just through the air. And then on top of that, his rushing stats. Wait, why did that just
188 carries, 817 yards, 7 TDs. It's clear this offense runs through Daly.
That's right.
Meanwhile, on the Navy side, Lavatai has 522 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, while the leading rusher for Navy is the running back, Texa, 117 carries, 724 yards, 5 tutties. So, like we said, these teams are balanced in that aspect.
Very.
Except Daly is the offense for Army.
And you guys, at home might be listening to this and you're going, okay, well, this should be a Navy slam dunk because once you stop the quarterback, there's no offense. Wrong.
We thought that during the Snow Bowl a couple years ago. Well, then they put a tank out there in all white. No one can see the man he ran into the end zone.
Isn't that amazing though? Like you think it's one thing, you think you got him, and then somebody else shows up. The fullback might have a great game. The outside man who's running and getting that pitch off the option might be, the hot ticket. Maybe the defense. We've seen defense, maybe a fumble 6, maybe a great turnover on downs that gives, excellent field position. This is one of the true games that, if you want to see how football was, way back when, I mean, this is, again, the living relic to that. Field position, defense, special teams, and occasionally you get that big offensive play that shocks everybody. But another really cool thing I wanted to bring up here, well, actually, Chooch is going to handle this part. The uniforms. Every year, uniforms between these two teams are special, and this year is absolutely beautiful.
So we're going to start this one off, everyone, with the Army game uniform trailer. I'm going to go show you everything off of YouTube, folks. So thank you, YouTube and Army Athletics and Navy Athletics. I'm just going to put that out there now so we don't get a copyright thing.
Yeah, we don't own any of this.
We don't own any of this. This is all us. This is all us sharing this with you guys. This is us so you can see this and simply so you can enjoy this like we have. So we're going to share and we are going to get at it here, folks. Theater mode and play.
I would give a bean to be a fancy pants Marine. I'd rather be a dog-faced soldier like I am. So tearing me down to build me over again. I'm just a dog-faced soldier with a rifle on the shoulder. Ready for here comes my way.
So we're all by ourselves in the middle of the Udari Desert, nothing to do but train. Again, 24/7, you got no place to go. We were developing a common visualization of how we would kind of do things.
The 3rd Infantry Division is one of the oldest and most decorated divisions in the United States Army. Their tactical competence during the invasion of Iraq in 2003 added to their legacy. The soldiers in the 3rd Infantry Division are known as dog-faced soldiers. Their determination in the face of adversity lived up to that moniker. They led the longest and most rapid armored advance since World War II through the Iraqi capital city of Baghdad, with 2 surprise attacks that today are better known as Thunder Run.
The conclusion came to was like, look, I can't out-Baghdad the Iraqis. There's like no way I can know it better. What I can do is I can outfight them and I can out-decide them. If I can penetrate them and get behind them, then they don't have a plan to turn around and fight backwards.
That fearless mindset was in every soldier in the 3rd Infantry Division. The first Thunder Run was all about audacity, concentration, surprise, and tempo. Armored and mechanized formations provided the ability to penetrate enemy territory. Before Saddam's forces could recover, the second Thunder Run came in and drove straight into the heart of Baghdad, proving the Army could go anywhere at any time. These efforts from those dog-faced soldiers during the Thunder Runs demonstrated their competence, selfless service, and honored the legacy established by the division.
Come on, YouTube.
25 years ago as the Rock of the Marne. On December 9th, Army football will follow a similar game plan that the 3rd ID set 20 years ago on enemy soil. In America's game, we look to honor those dog-faced soldiers that gave everything to defend our great nation.
I mean, tell me that's not sick.
Yeah, right? So, as you all heard there, Army's uniforms are in honor of the 3rd Infantry Division, the oldest running infantry division in armored division in the U.S. Army, and they also led the most rapid advance through Baghdad in the invasion of Iraq. So, Cole,
Yes, sir.
with that one, what do you think of that uniform? What do you think of the concept?
I think they nailed it. I mean, to pick out a moment for, let alone the history behind it's absolutely incredible. To honor, the division like that, and then on top of that, you know, that's what you want to have in this game. You want to have the most rapid advance destruction on your side, putting fear into the hearts of your opponents. Like it, that's perfect. I mean, I can't say anything, other than that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's Army's way, right? Ground pound. I'm just gonna bowl through you, and if you're in the way, okay, guess what? Bye. That's the most Army thing ever.
You're gonna get run over.
Run over. Do we want to see the Navy one?
Yes, we do.
All right, so everyone, the silent service is what the Navy is honoring, and we will kick it off to you here and oh, wrong thing. There we go. Now.
From the depths of the sea stands a vigilant guardian in the shadows. Ensuring that freedom and peace prevail. A silent service.
And that's Navy's. That's all they needed to do, because that's all you need to do when you're the best branch in the country.
And
that's all it was.
I love the contrasting styles here. You got Army that's like, hey, we're gonna go through you, we're gonna destroy you, and then you got Navy. You might be able to be, maybe bigger than us, but you gotta catch us. You gotta find us. We're gonna outthink you. We're gonna outsmart you. We're gonna stay hidden, and then we're gonna strike when the time is right. And I honestly, that encapsulates Navy.
Yep.
They might try, several different things to beat Army, to where Army, they get a little bit more bullheaded. They get a little bit more, I don't care who you are, I'm running you over. Meanwhile, Navy says we can run you over, we can go to the side, we can spread you out, we can do whatever we want. And I mean, it could not have been better. Those unis are sick.
Yeah. And okay, so for those of you that know, obviously, like I said earlier, prior Navy, the silent service is part of the U.S. military secret. We call them secret squirrels for a reason.
I love that.
That's why we call them that, because, well, you see it there. You see it there.
Absolutely. I mean, that if that doesn't get you hyped for Saturday, I don't know what does. I mean, I'm ready to go, and we still got, quite a few hours to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to start slamming down some adult beverages and ready for this game. Cheering them on, screaming anchors away. That's what I'm ready for.
Oh man, me too. And on top of that, so heading back to the game, Army is a 3-point favorite in this game, which again, I genuinely don't know how you even make a line for this game because it's so random. I mean, best of luck to these people who make these lines. That would confuse me. A neutral site game, and anything is possible, but somehow we find a favorite here, which, like I said, it baffles me. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I don't really know how anyone comes to that conclusion. Um, and then also the other part of this that we did not talk about, the special teams game. Navy and Army, and we were talking identical. We were saying, they're identical with their offense, they're identical with their defense. Same story in the special teams. Their kickers, eerily similar. Their punters, both really good in giving their teams advantages, especially when to start out defensively. So, I mean, you could look all day, look at any other sport. Again, there is not a more evenly matched game, and it is absolutely nuts.
Yeah. No, I agree. I 100% agree with that one. Hold on, I'm trying to find you the percentages here because I have them. If I just got to find them. Oh, they're here somewhere. If I look hard enough. I wasn't expecting to bring up special teams for some reason. I don't know why. just wasn't expected. So Navy actually had a 53% field goal percentage all year.
Wow.
Not great. Simple
Very
fact is
unusual.
I can't find Army. Cannot find Army. There they are. They had a 78% field goal percentage. But if you guys, I mean, even special teams are even returning wise.
Right. Yeah.
They're there. They're there.
And with that as well, I mean, just like I've mentioned before, these stats, they're huge, but they also don't mean anything. They're huge in terms of the year, but again, this game, they don't mean anything. Um, and something that doesn't get talked about enough. Huge, nerves initially for a big game are huge. And I know we've kind of covered this already, but like, it's got to be like a different world out there, between just when you're on that field and then just knowing every little movement you do on that field is gonna have implications for a long time.
Yeah, and I guess the stress going into this game is probably a little bit more hyped up than most because you don't get that normal sleep pattern the rest of these schools do, You still got to do your
Right.
stuff. You still got to abide by your uniform code of military justice stuff, which is the UCMJ. It's our basically military law, and these kids can't wear facial hair. They got to grow out their mustaches to right at the lips. Your sideburns start halfway at the ear, end halfway at your ear. That's it.
And if you don't, oh man, do you get? I'm
Oh
sure an
yeah,
earful.
yep. Your boots. Well, in the Navy, I guess their boots aren't really polished until they get their stuff. So you get the point, though. You got to polish your boots. You got to polish your shoes. Your uniforms got to be squared away still. There's still a lot to do before tomorrow for these guys.
I'm trying to think if there's anything we missed going over here.
I think we got it all. We got the uniforms. We covered the new head coach. We got the game's first time in Foxborough in its 124-year history. Navy leads the rivalry. Like I said, we covered the uniforms. We talked about the triple option. Cole, I think I know what time it is.
I know what we forgot. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's hit it with the signature. Last regular season intro for a game. Get ready for this, folks. We're going to have a kickoff at 2 p.m. Central Time in Gillette Stadium. Army Navy. A game that has been around for pretty much ever. I mean, in terms of college football, it has always been here. The faces change, but the meaning stays the same. Army led by their quarterback Daly and his ability to run and pass that has been the key in this Army team. Navy, on the other hand, with Levitai, he's been able to air it out a little bit better, some would say, but he does lose some of that edge in the running difference. These defenses, as we've said earlier on the show, they're similar. They're both good. They're both quick, and they're both extremely good in a game like this because they prepare for it every week. Chooch, I know you got a little bit of a bias here, but is there any chance we pull out that Black Knight?
Hard no. You know why, Cole?
Why is that?
Because at the end of the day, Navy's played better teams. They just played an exceptionally great offense 2 weeks ago, and they obviously had 56 hung on them, but that's SMU. They do it to everyone. Meanwhile, also, I know what we forgot, Cole.
What's that?
Army's joining the American.
Oh, we did. How did we forget that? We got
I just thought of it while you were
everything
talking. I just thought of it while we were. I'm like, oh wait, never mind. But no, listen, Army. This is going to be probably the closer of games for. I mean, they're all close. I scratched. I even said that. This is going to be the game of games for a minute. This game is a hell of a way to end the regular season and a great way to kick off that bowl season. You know, this is the game where everything matters. It all goes down. So you know what I'm going to say, Cole?
What's that?
Anchors away, my boys. That's what I'm going to say. If it would play through the microphone, you'll hear it. Anchors away, my boys.
There we go.
Anchors away. That's right. Navy's going to win this one for the sheer fact that this defense has been battle tested all year. And the Americans' ability to run the ball has been a lot more than what Army's seen this year. Navy wins it. The linebacking core for Navy is actually a lot better than people think it is. And that's going to be the reason they win this game. That, and I mean, the running back and the quarterback aren't the main offense. So the quarterback is not your leading running back, is what I meant to say. So that's why Navy wins this one.
All right. Well, here we go, folks. Chooch, do you remember a year ago when we did this show? Do you remember who we both picked?
Navy.
Yeah, and who won that game?
Army by 3.
That's right, Army won. So that was an L on the records there. But here's the thing. Lightning strikes one time in an area and doesn't strike twice. And when you're talking about these branches, that's the truth in this series. You don't see many streaks in these series because these teams absolutely are always at each other's throats. And if you do, it's a slight streak. For that reason, Navy knows how to win this game. They have the better record. They lead all time, as you guys saw earlier on in the show. And on that, there it is, perfect time. And also, Navy can do something that Army cannot. They can throw the ball. And that is going to be the main difference here. Navy's going to get just a few plays difference. And that extra passing is going to take off. Anchors away. And that is going to do it for the special edition of the Army Navy show. Oh man, I cannot state enough how fun it is to do this. This is our 3rd year in a row doing the Army Navy game.
Yeah.
Or and every year I swear it gets better. And it's like I got asked earlier this week, how can you do one game and you could make it go for a whole show? Many games you can't, but this is the one.
Take notes, kids.
Yes, this is the game you could talk about everything. I mean, if you stayed for the whole thing, you know that now. So let's close out as we always do for the last time in the regular season. Man, this always goes by too fast. God bless you all in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day, and on the Immaculate Conception of all days. How about that for a closing to this college football season?
Beautiful.
Have a good one, y'all. Enjoy your Army Navy Saturday.